Okay, my friends, this is a shocker du jour. I feel there's fraud. In my opinion, there's fraud rampant throughout the university system and our institutions. And the easiest way to show is the Arizona institution, the university. Okay, my friends, these are my opinions and based on my research, and this is about Bennu, Boulders and Beyond, National Science Foundation, Smithsonian, University of Arizona. They're all chiming in on this, and they're getting a ton of money, I am sure. And they want to, how can we better understand? Well, let's see about that. This is Bennu. Now, this mission goes a while back, and they brought back samples, Bennu samples, from the asteroid Bennu, and they contain all 5 of the nucleobases, 14 of the 20 amino acids used by life on Earth, which are essential components for DNA, RNA, and proteins. Everything that they have here points to the fact that it was a primordial body of some creature. And they say, oh, no. They maybe brought these little bits and pieces to Earth. But let me show you something that indicates the fact that it is biology. Okay, my friends, hang on tight. These are the key findings from the University of Arizona-led analysis of Bennu, which is an asteroid they brought back pieces to Earth. The Bennu samples contain all 5 of the nucleobases, 14 of the 20 amino acids used by life on Earth, which are essential components for DNA, RNA, and proteins. Everything they found points to life, and they say, yes, it maybe brought life to Earth. This is my opinion of what they're saying, and my opinion of how they're reacting is disgraceful. Okay, so University of Arizona taking federal money, it's way over $1 billion now, and they want to know how can we better understand Bennu. Well, let's take a look at it. Well, let's see what we can determine. That is Bennu. All right. Now look at this circular structure here, this circular structure here, and this big circular structure here. Now, they landed on there, grabbed a chunk of that, and came back to Earth. Okay, the reason I'm upset is because I discovered mud fossils. I know exactly what this is. I reported it to Yale, and in my opinion, they altered my information, and NASA paid Yale because I went and contacted NASA, and I said, you guys got biology up there on Mars. I'll show you this in a second. And Yale was funded by the government, and they turned it around so it made it sound like it was just slimy little creatures that were here that got preserved in this manner, which is not true. I have all the evidence here that shows exactly what I'm saying is true. So, in my opinion, I see that as fraud and also plagiarism, because I had also given Derek Briggs all this information about the platypolar silicates, fascia-facilitated fossilization, long before NASA funded him, because I contacted NASA at the same time. This was like 2014, 2015. When Curiosity went up there, it's just loaded with biology. Same thing. So as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, our institutions are working against us, and the university system is just pilfering us of cash. This costs way over $1 billion. And this is nothing more than muscle. That's muscle, my friends. And these are membranes that lay over the top of those muscles. And that's because Bennu is a heart. And you say, oh, it can't be a heart, it's just too big. No, it's not even big, actually. You see this? I am intimate with this. This is muscle sarcomeres. They pull in like this when you're using your muscle, and they relax there like that. This red stuff just comes out of it and decays out in watery conditions or in a dry condition, such as on Mars, and you end up with these little tiny, really heavy-duty connective tissues in between, because that's the stuff that makes your muscles strong. But this stuff is the red stuff is what makes it pull in. Let me show you. So I just showed you, this is the muscle sarcomere, so is this. And on top of each layer of sarcomeres, they have membranes, which is this, which is the phospholipid membranes. It breaks down into phosphates. Now, they found all the biology basically on Earth. I mean, that is on Earth and is in DNA and RNA. Now, listen, this again is muscle. Muscle. Guess where this is? That's on Mars. And they say this all happened continually millions and millions of years. No. These are muscle sarcomeres, and this is the red dusted off stuff. And there's no water here, so don't start with this nonsense that this is not on Mars. They went to Mars, there's no question about it. And this is the dust that came out, and these are the connective tissues. Those are sarcomeres, exactly as I just showed you, which are up on Bennu. Or actually, they're here now in the University of Arizona. It's been 2 years now, almost. I told them what they had before they even came back with it. I said, here's what you're going to find. I actually sent them a list of exactly what is in heart, blood, basically, because mostly they came back with a bloody heart. If that's not enough to convince you, I showed you this here. You got membranes right over the top of these muscle sarcomeres, and when you look at them in here, these are the ropes that wrap around the heart. They grabbed all this muscle and came back with it, and they just can't live with the fact that it is muscle. This is a heart attack victim, and this is heart muscle. And these are the phosphate layers that layer across these, because they have to pull in and out, but they also have to move like this and that. So that's what allows them to move, and these allow them to pull in. That's how a muscle works, and that is exactly what you have right here from Bennu. Now, this has been here for 2 years. I would assume at some teaching institution, and I had contacted them since day one, even before day one, and I will get no response. Dante Laurenta, I feel very upset about this, and of course I contacted the government fraud net, or whatever they call it. Yeah, fraud net, I think, because this is, in my opinion, this is just totally fraud. All they're looking for is money from us to walk around in circles. That's my opinion. And you say, oh, this is too big. No, it isn't. This is another heart, and that's psyche. They didn't come back with any of that, but this here has tubes coming out of it. And it's got all the colors of the blood. It's got the tendon investment that wraps into the muscle so that it can do this. These are the valves. It's not hard to understand. It's totally, if they can't figure this out, they don't have any right to be in this business. And as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, this is the only alternative here is fraud. I can't see this as, oh, we just didn't understand, oh, we just didn't know. They refuse to engage, and the reason is because they're going to lose their funding and their status. We've been misled forever, and it's time to stop this nonsense. That's a heart. And only because it pops off here. And I found out through my research that it's iron banding, which means there's the red and the black blood, which is red and blue until it turns black as it oxidizes. It just pops right off. That top pops off. They know about this in autopsy people. I've talked to all kinds of people about this, and everybody says the same thing. You're right, don't use my name. Because they know they will be assaulted. And that's because the things on this earth are so enormous that nobody can deal with them. If that's a heart, that's 177 miles across. This is little, this is under a mile, the Bennu, but Psyche is the same thing, only it's much bigger. And Mars, as Velikovsky recorded, this Mars Marianas Trench is because it got hit by Venus, and it knocked it out of its orbit, destroyed, and it sucked all of the magnetism and electricity out of Mars. And here's where Venus is. These are welding scars of electrical discharge into Venus from that impact. Venus spins backwards. All the other ones spin in the opposite direction. And Venus was, as Velikovsky reported, ejected from Jupiter. All right, and then it went through the solar system. It hit us, actually, and created the Grand Canyon and all the uranium mines and so forth out there, because of the impact of all the energy. The energy just gushed into the Earth, and now it is decaying. These are my opinions, my conclusions. This is the Mars crab. And all this stuff, I reported to him. I said, that's not a crab. I said, that's an artery. And that artery is supplying these muscle sarcomeres. There it is. I mean, I have the same stuff in my shop. I studied this. I was the first one. And I reported all this stuff to Derek Briggs at Yale. And in my opinion, he converted it so that, and he took money from NASA, because I got a hold of NASA too. They paid him to mislead everybody. That's my opinion. And he did. He misled everybody. And I have all the emails. I have dozens of emails. I had the DNA tests, the CAT scans done. I had everything done. And refusal to engage in that is a fiduciary failure to his students. He should have engaged. He would not allow me to show him the stuff. He said he saw it all as just rocks. And the last email I got from him was, why don't you go find a geologist? That's the kind of people we're dealing with. You see, this is 2018. 2015, I discovered this fluid-filled highway. And that's, they say it's a newfound organ. They never even knew it existed. And that is our immune system. The doctors don't even know how this works. The only reason this works so well is because of bacteria and enzymes do biology and the breakdown of things millions of years faster than it would happen if you didn't have the enzyme. And the only way you get the enzymes is to have the bacteria. All of this stuff plays into one big giant thing that they have kept us from understanding. Even like this. This was that interstitium. These are all these balls and these straps. This is pinched skin. Guess where this is? On Mars, because it just dusted off. We live on gigantic dead creatures. And you see those balls and those straps? Where are they? Got them here somewhere. Hold on. Here it is right here. These are the straps. And these little ones are the balls. When it erodes, this is fleshy stuff, erodes easy. The skin smacks down, and these are all the balls. Eventually, you see them laying all over the place like you do in Utah and Arizona. They call them the Moki marbles. On Mars, they call them the Mars blueberries. Exact same thing. And here, in the United Kingdom, these are just the same thing here, only they still have biology left on them. And the moss is eating the biology that's left. And this is just the mud, which is the red flesh, that's the skin. This is very hard for the average mind to stop and think. But the people we're paying to do the research should be scientists, and they have not shown themselves to be that. A scientist should engage and must engage, and an educator must engage, as a fiduciary failure is the outcome of that, which is a legal obligation that I think they should get their money back from people that wouldn't do their job correctly, such as, in my opinion, Derek Briggs and Dante Loretta and all those people. They're just not teaching us the truth, which is quite obvious. To me, that's my opinion. You see this? As the Earth thaws out, all these balls are the skin of the Earth. They're coming to the surface, and they're being eaten by moss. You see this? This whole thing was a giant creature's skin. And the fleshy stuff goes away easily, but the balls much tougher, and they are coated with edible material, and plants are eating it, and eventually this will turn into the Moki marbles. But I don't think the Earth is going to last that long, to be perfectly honest with you. I see devastation coming, and it's coming pretty damn quick as far as I'm concerned. And that's because, well, there's a lot of becauses, but I'm blaming a lot of the, well, I'm not going to say any more about that. The Earth is in trouble. Just let's put it that way. And I showed it. Look at this. I have stuff here. This is a hair follicle. There's where the muscle attaches right there. Shown this hundreds and hundreds of times. There's a sebaceous gland. There's the hair shaft. There's the hair root coming down. Those two dots are the papilla at the bottom. Totally transitioned from nucleophilic transitioning, which means it's been invaded by whatever the matter was here. When that gets boiled and ready to absorb, whatever's there is going to be absorbed. That's why sometimes you get them look like this. They look like meat. The fascia stayed just like the fascia. The meat stayed just like the meat. The connective tissue is just like the connective tissue. Other ones turn to completely mud. They call them mud stone. That's the head of a bone. I think it's a bone that goes like into something like this because it's got a ligament spot. And then sometimes a goose. My good friend Caesar Augustus turned into a mudstone. There's his feathers. You can't miss it. Unmissable. Now, if our educators cannot understand what they see, and they can't come to grips with what they see, they are not true educators. They're not scientists. And this, in my opinion, that's all I have found is non-scientist educators. They just cannot speak because they know they will be destroyed by their peers. And that's what happened. Velikovsky, they made him take a book off the bookshelves. #1 for 12 weeks in a row. And they forced the bookseller to take it off the bookshelves because academia said, we will never buy another book from you. It was Macmillan was the publisher, so they pulled it off the bookshelves. And they treated him with the most disgusting disgrace. And that's the same thing that's happened to me now, too. So I'm just not going to put up with it because I have the evidence to support precisely what Velikovsky said. And the ancient texts. And this is what kills them because all of this wipes them out. It says, no, these people are wrong virtually about everything they've said. And God comes back into the picture big time. And this evolution is just absolute nonsense. And that's what, in my opinion, Derek Briggs turned it into, yes, this stuff is just like Roger says, only, and of course he doesn't ever use my name. He took credit for all of this. Only slimy things get preserved. Small things up to a meter long, little gooey, slimy petri dish, they said. Totally wrong. And I believe it was done intentionally, that's my opinion, to defraud the students and to defraud us. And then NASA paid Yale to do that paper, which in my opinion was strictly done to defraud. And it wasn't done for scientific purpose. It was done for to get the money. And Derek Briggs, in my opinion, should not be teaching anybody anything. And if Yale puts up with this kind of stuff, which they did, I contacted everybody, yeah, all the way up to the president, and I just did it again today. And it was like it's absolute dismissal of truth, in my opinion. So you make your own opinion. Okay, my friends, extremely controversial today. I am going to be talking about fraud, in my opinion, in government, which they dole out a ton of our money to these universities, including Yale, including the University of Arizona, and what have they provided for that money? In my opinion, it's strictly trying to find out how they can extract money, not how they can extract the truth. The truth has no bearing whatsoever anymore. I'm going to show you Asteroid Bennu, and when you see this, you're going to understand that the truth is meaningless. And if the people that are doing this research are this incompetent, then they just shouldn't be doing it. This is all my opinion, but you have your own opinion. I'll show you.